All right. Hello, Read 595, and thank you for joining us. We are at the Google Hangout right now. It's just Sue and Atlantica and myself having a great time getting final questions answered. I have just a brief 9-slide PowerPoint I'm going to go over, and then after that, I'll open it up to questions they have that might be similar to questions you have. So our agenda, welcome. We'll talk about the practice essays, how those have been going, any troubleshooting that's come up, the procedure for the take-home essay, ID numbers, which everyone should have received via email, your Fullerton account yesterday, timed essay, ProctorU tips, and then wrap up and final questions. So, to Sue and Nalantika, what did you ladies learn from essay 1 and 2? Did you get any tips or best practices? I know, Sue, you were kind of sharing your strategy for keeping track of time, which appears to be a hot topic. Do you want to share that tip or anything else you ladies have learned?
So my voice is sounding okay and going back.
No, you sound fine.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I haven't figured out how to fix that, but for me it sounds really strange. And I can't hear Nelantika because that sort of echoes and sounds funny. But anyway, so you can hear me. I was wondering about the timer. I had to ask the prompter, how much time do I have left? Because I forgot to write it, or, I was sort of nervous and stressed out, so I didn't pay much attention to that. But the second practice that I did on my own, I wrote the time in the corner of my paper that I had to end, and I had a clock nearby. That seemed to work.
Great. And I was under the impression that there was a timer counting down for you the way I'd set it up in Titanium. So I'm going to look into that to see if I can get that set up so that you all can have that as well. So even though you're typing in Word or Pages, if you're a Mac user, you could probably put the window that the exam is in on Titanium, like up in your top left, so you could still see the timer counting down, as well as, be able to view your Word document at the same time, since Sue reminded me you can't have your timer on your phone right next to you, so that is problematic. So let me play with the way the quiz is set up and see if I can get that timer visible to you. So, all right, other tips or strategies or things we can troubleshoot from the practice exams?
Maybe we can ask the proctor to let us know how to find out, and it can post before and the warning and we're nearing the time, so that can be helpful.
And what's frustrating for me is this was a problem 2 semesters ago, so I have it in their directions to time you. But I don't know if this happened to you where the proctors switch during your exam based on when.
He was not there
at times.
Yeah. So when that happens, I don't know how they keep track of the time. So even though I have it bolded and highlighted and it says, please time the exam, and I was told that would be sufficient for them to do that, that's not happening. And I think it has something to do with the fact that they're hopping on and off based on when they're scheduled to take a break and when they have to have their lunch and all that sort of stuff. So it's really on you guys to time it, unfortunately. So let me play around with the settings. But I agree, writing your end time, writing 8:13 a.m., which is probably not when you would start, but maybe 8:45 a.m. and then knowing by 10:45 a.m. I should be done. Sue asked if you're still going to get the 15-minute buffer, and you will. So, but you don't want to be typing up until 11 a.m. It needs to be submitted by 11 a.m. if you started at 8:45. So you have the 2 hours with a 15-minute grace period. But if it's, when I get a timestamp when you access the prompt, since it is password protected, and I can see what time you access the prompt and what time you turn it in, and it shows red when you're late. So you cannot be late because You even have a 15-minute buffer, so do not go over that time limit. All right, I think let's keep plugging along here with just some of the logistical information. So this Saturday is when the take-home essay prompt is getting posted, and actually it's going to be 8 a.m. I happen to have a live meeting with someone in 581 at 9 a.m., so as a result, you guys will get your question a little early. I will email everyone and let you know the question has been posted. You do not need to access it at that time. People are like, do I have to be in front of my computer at 8 a.m. on Saturday? No, but just so you know, that's when it is available. And then I'm going to be available immediately after, but only if you have difficulties accessing the question. Don't call or email me if you have a question about the exam. Instead, I've set up a Google Doc where you can type your questions up to 24 hours after the prompt is available, and I'll respond to all those questions so that everyone can see all of the questions and I'm not answering the same question 18 different times. And then my goal is to get back to you on all those questions by Sunday night. As you know, you have 2 weeks to write your essay, and then the essay needs to be submitted by 9 a.m. Saturday, October 21st, which likely you're going to be starting your timed exam around then, so it needs to likely be in a little bit before that time. So I'm going to pause and see if you all have any questions about the take-home procedure. Oops, whoa. No? All right.
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, I mean, it's pretty clear. It goes up, you got 2 weeks to do it, and turn it in. Make sure you don't have your name. You're using your ID number, which is not a CW ID. It's the number 1 through 25 that you've been assigned. The ID number really needs to be on all pages, so when they get printed out, we know where that belongs. Make sure you have a cover page, especially on the take-home exam. It's not the end of the world if you don't have it for the timed exam. It does really help with uniformity, though. Aim for about an 8-page paper. 8 pages of content is roughly 2,000 words. That is the word limit. If you're over by 100 words, I wouldn't stress about that because the take-home prompt usually has a lot of pieces to it, and to do a thorough response, you may be a hair over 2,000 words. They're not going to notice. They aren't reviewing them digitally, so they aren't able to see the word count, and I guarantee you faculty aren't counting your words. So as close to 2,000 words as possible. If you do go over by 100, 150 words, I wouldn't worry too much about that. At least 1 reference per page minimum. I'm guessing you'll have more than that. You may need to. No, you actually should bring in additional research. As you know by now, that's part of the rubric, is how you are using additional research to respond to this prompt, especially since you do have the 2 weeks and the resources. And then make sure you are properly citing sources, especially secondary sources and chapters and edited books. Also make sure you've got the 1-inch margin size and your heading levels are correct in APA. I tried to catch everyone on the second practice exam if they didn't have proper APA heading levels. So APA is important for this one. Spelling and grammar is very important. Additional research. Yeah. All right, ID numbers, they went out Monday. I need to know if you don't have it. Make sure this is the only the only identifier on your paper so that we can do blind scoring. I'm the only one who knows who is assigned their numbers, and I'm not grading, so that works out. This number should also be on your cover page, top center of all subsequent pages. Last semester, folks asked, can I give my paper a title? Absolutely. So that can go on your cover page. All right. timed essay. Please make sure you register to take this exam. I checked yesterday and still 10 people haven't signed up, so make sure you do that because there is a late fee you will have to pay. It's all of $5, but still, make sure you sign up. Once you connect with a proctor, just like practice exam 2, they're going to unlock the prompt. Then from the time that they unlock it, you have 2 hours to write your essay with a 15-minute grace period to submit it using this separate link. All but 2 people did that correctly last time. So right below where you pull up the prompt, it says submit here. That's where you want to submit it. Because that prompt disappears after 2 hours and 15 minutes and people panic if they can't see it, just use submit here, even though you shouldn't be needing the prompt after 2 hours and 15 minutes anyway. Use the assignment link to submit your paper. All right, this is my last slide of information, then I have just Q&A time. Proctor U tips. This has happened in the past that even though practice exam 2 went great, someone went to connect to the proctor and, for whatever reason, they couldn't connect. They were having internet issues. They did not have full connectivity. Internet was slower, etc. So a good idea is to do that check your equipment, which they talk about how to do that in the FAQ proctor sheet I put up in the Proctor U folder before you start the test, just to make sure everything is running correctly, because you do need to have, your microphone working, your camera working, all those things need to be working so that you can start. Set your own timer like we talked about, or be watching the clock. If the proctor switches, as you saw happens, just keep going. I'm sure it's distracting. If the proctor disappears once you've started drafting, just keep going. So in past, people have been disconnected and, answer your phone and try to reconnect. That's why we've got the 15-minute buffer too. But ultimately, once you have the prompt, you need to submit it 2 hours and 15 minutes later, no matter what happens. And then I can review the proctor log of what happened to just determine if there's an integrity issue. And if so, then you're going to have to redo the exam next semester. So, but if you're close to the end and you become disconnected and you just needed to submit, that's not a big deal. But we haven't had any issues like that actually. But, just if you're freaking out about if something were to happen, just keep typing and get your essay in, because that's what is going to be important, is getting it submitted within 2 hours and 15 minutes, because we can't be giving people extra time. That compromises equity with this assessment. So, final questions, and then breathe and relax because you're ready. If you don't feel like you're ready, you still have 2 weeks to do as many more practice timed essays as you want. If you want to pick a prompt from part 3 of the comps handbook and go for it and send it to me, I am happy to give you feedback on practice timed exams if you want to keep doing those these next 2 weeks. If you send me feedback for your take-home exam, you're not going to get that. You're also not going to get any help from the writing tutor, because she knows come Saturday she can't be responding to 595 questions. But I'm happy to give you feedback on practice timed exams if you still want to do a few more of those to get ready. Oh, hey, Rachel joined us. Hi, Rachel. How's it going? You missed my beautiful PowerPoint presentation, but we are recording this, so you can watch it back later, as riveting as it is. But we just went over. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for question and answer, and then we will wrap up.
I have a question about scoring.
Yes.
So, if we're doing comps, do we have to get a 3 or above on both the take home and the
So, you need to get a combined score from both readers of 4, right?
Okay.
So let me just, because now you're making me second guess myself.
It's only because I have the scoring at the beginning of the semester. That's why I'm asking. So
Right. Well, other people might have this question, so let me address it, but I'm going to pull up the syllabus because it's detailed out there. Of course, my computer is taking forever to pull that up, but once that opens.
Could you tell me why you're pulling it up?
Oh, yes. Great. She's asking about the scoring of the papers, like what we need to pass, essentially. Yeah, so open or read only copy. Okay, here in our syllabus, it is outlined very clearly. All right, so okay, a minimum score of 4 must be earned per essay. So let's say score number 1 gives you a 1 and score number 2 disagrees and they give you a 3. That would be a combined score of 4. However, we know that if there is a disagreement by more than 1 point, that's what this talks about here. So if you get a 1 from someone and a 3 from someone, that's highly unlikely because one person is saying you definitely didn't pass and one person is saying you did pretty well. I don't ever see a 1 and a 3, but if that happened, then a third score comes and then their score will determine either, if they give you a 1, then you get the 1. So you'd get a 1 and a 1, which is a 2. Maybe they agree with the other person a 3, so you get a 3 and a 3, which is a 6. If they give you a 2, then you get the 2 highest scores added together. I don't know if I just confused you more than anything, but basically you need a combined score of 4 per essay. So it has happened in the past where someone has passed the take-home exam because they had above a 4, but on the timed exam they didn't. And then you just retake the part that you did not pass.
Okay.
So let me go back to my Hangout. Rachel, you take it the next semester, so you'd have to take it in spring. Yeah, because the exams are only offered once per semester. Okay, any other questions about scoring? Definitely look at that section of the syllabus. But yeah, basically 2 people are scoring it, and usually the scores are not an even number. It's like a 2.75 and a 3.2. So as long as the sum together is 4 or greater, then you have passed.
Okay, got it.
And people always ask me how soon will we know, which usually it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get it back, especially with there being so many people taking comps this semester. So you guys are going to turn it in to me the 21st. I'm going to submit them on the 23rd. They need a week roughly to print them all out, get all the rubrics copied, get them in the folders, get the schedule together, etc. Then grader 1 will have it, grader 2. Then let's see, we're in grader 3, grader 4. So hopefully by December 1st, we'll have something for you. I mean, as soon as I get the scores, I input them into Titanium and I email you and let you know that they're there. But I wouldn't expect anything sooner than December 1st, especially because Thanksgiving week is there and faculty do take that week off. So nobody's going to be grading any comps exams then, unfortunately. All right, other questions? Hi, Claudia.
I have a question.
You guys, Claudia just had a baby. Like how many weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. 2.
Yeah, and she is still, congratulations. She's still taking the comps exam, which is nuts, but way to go.
Thank you.
All right, we are just doing a final question answer session. So anyone feel free to jump in, raise your hand, whatever, let me know.
Okay, I have a question.
All right, Sue, we're going to you.
So during the test, they said something, the proctor said, don't read the question out loud. But is it okay to speak during the test?
So this is funny because, this seemed to be a common issue where people were orally rereading their paper after they wrote it, right? Which is a common practice for revising and editing. And they were told by the proctor they couldn't speak. And so this has never happened before. And so I actually called our rep about this to ask if they could, if you all could talk during it. And they said no, because of testing security. They didn't know who you were talking to and what feedback you were getting and whatnot. So I have added to the directions to please allow students to read aloud the paper as they write it. I don't know if they're still going to get on your case about reading it aloud, because apparently they have a very strict no talking policy that I didn't know about, that they all adhere to. But I did adjust that in the directions to allow you to orally read the prompt or orally read your draft. So they should be able to follow along and see that that's what you're reading. And if they knew anything about this exam, they'd know that no one but you can really respond to this, unless you've got Timothy Rosinski sitting there with you, which I doubt, So you should hopefully be able to read aloud. I'm actually gonna put read aloud prompt, because that is the best test taking practice. Read aloud prompt and draft for proofing, editing, revising. I will bold and underline that too, but these proctors sometimes get on their high horses too. They're very, the directions say a half sheet of paper, not a full sheet folded in half, one-sided. So, that was an issue once. People are calling me crying. We've seen a lot of things 3 semesters with ProctorU. Oh. All right, good question. Other questions? Yes, Rachel.
I have a question about ProctorU. So when I did my timed practice 2, I lost my proctor in the middle of it, and I saw the part of your PowerPoint where you said keep going, but my understanding is I need them to be watching when I submit, or I need their permission to submit, and I couldn't get someone on when I was trying to submit, and I want to submit at that 2 hour and 15-minute mark or 2 hour mark. Mm-hmm. So if I can't get someone back, what can I do?
You just submit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that's a big issue.
Yeah. Honestly, I know you guys are frantically typing your paper. If you get disconnected, try your best to reconnect. But the time situation is the biggest factor. So just keep going and submit. So you lost them all together?
Yeah, it was it told me multiple times that my proctor had cleaned.
Uh-huh.
And I was just writing, and it was in a different window, a little pop-up kind of window. And then when I went to tap my proctor to say I'm ready to submit, they weren't there. I think it could be because I finished it in hour.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they were expecting me to be there, but I had to go to their help section and try to tap the help section, and they thought I was starting the class, and it was all this. And I'm I have to submit it on. I was kind of panicking, so I wasn't panicking. It was the real thing, but if it were the real thing, that I just go home. I did get someone, and it was fine. But if I didn't, I just wanted some information too.
And then I guess my other, going back, you were then able to connect to someone and get it submitted. Okay. Because anytime there's an issue, they flag it and I get notified right away that we had this issue. Here's what's going on. So at that time too, if you're disconnected for a bulk of the assessment, gosh, I don't even know what we would do in that. I mean, honestly, I would just keep typing because they've checked that it's you taking the test. It's a secure environment. Honestly, I don't know who you're going to get in there that's going to help you type this paper very well. So just keep going. Other questions?
I have one about the header.
Yes.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes. A question about the header.
Okay, so title page, and then header is matter doing the header, putting your number in the center and off to the side. Does it matter if you forget to keep the header off the title page, if it just appears rather?
No, that is not a big deal. Just make sure page number is on the right and your student ID number or your assigned number from me is in the center of the paper. Yeah, in case when things get printed out, they get separated. They get put back in the right order.
Okay.
Other questions? All right. Well, that was pretty easy. You know how to find me too if anything comes up. And I am sitting there on pins and needles on the 21st from usually 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. until I've opened everyone's papers and double checked to make sure it's actually the right paper. Make sure that when you're uploading the paper, you don't actually put the take-home exam where the timed exam is supposed to live. That's happened before. And that's been an issue because if I don't notice that until way later, how do I know you haven't been working on the timed exam this whole time? So just double check you're submitting the right paper. I double check all these things right away too. I'm there as you're taking it in case there are any issues that come up. You guys have my cell number, right? Put that on your note card in case you do get disconnected from a proctor. Call me right away. We could also always, if it's really early in the exam, we could also always hop on Google Hangout and I can view your screen. That was kind of a fallback option one semester when we were having a ton of issues with ProctorU. Everyone's practice exam had a problem. So we almost used Google Hangout for me to proctor, but I don't think that's going to be feasible for 25 people. But that's something I could do if you're having issues. But likely if you're having issues with ProctorU, it's a technology thing and we're not going to be able to Google Hangout it. Maybe we could FaceTime ProctorU. I don't know, but write my cell phone number on your note card. And if there's anything that comes up, call me right away. Don't panic. Don't start crying. Don't freak out. Just call me first. So I will be sitting there with you until everybody submits them, and then we can all collectively have a deep sigh of relief and continue on with our weekend. So, all right, ladies.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes, Sue.
I have one more question before you stop.
Is this about the footer? Do you know what to put in the footer? I'm just kidding. No footer. Nobody do a footer. All right. What's your question?
Okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
I recommend, so this, I took number 3 today, and I went and did my titles throughout, my headings throughout the paper, and then because that end of paper not to be done like last time. So I went, a little bit in the beginning, a little in the middle. Then I went to my conclusion. And then I went back and it made for my thoughts being kind of crazy, but it made for a much more complete paper. Do you recommend doing it that way?
I know that I suggested Yeah, I know that I suggested that to someone. I can't remember who it was because it was very obvious by the end of their paper they had completely run out of time. Well, it was because they had given like very detailed phonemic awareness activities, like 1 through 6 of how to like do all of these different things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how much time are they spending on phonemic awareness activities, which are such a small piece of the puzzle here. You know, you've got diverse learners, you've got strategies, which those are strategies, but phonemic awareness is such a small section of that, you know. So I kind of would recommend, you know, getting your whatever like definitions of things out quickly, and then, you know, getting the kind of the meat of your essay out. I mean, it probably will lead to a little bit of jumble, but yeah, I mean, you definitely want to make sure you address everything.
Yeah, that way I was able to. So I had like vocabulary in there for a heading, and then when I realized, oh, only 3 minutes left, I got rid of vocabulary. Then I went back to my intro, deleted vocabulary, deleted it and included. You know, that way I was able to just, you know, pick out parts that I couldn't finish. You know, it was matched.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we have to include diversified learners, so do we see it under a separate heading, or do we include that topic under phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary? Do we merge it, or do we do it separately as a separate heading altogether?
Great. So that may or may not be a part of the prompt, first of all, but in the case of practice exam 2, it was. And you can do it either way, right? There's no one way to approach the prompt. As long as you have addressed diverse learners in there, then you've addressed the prompt. I know when there's a specific section titled diverse learners, no one can say you didn't address it. Whereas if you've embedded in there and it's not very explicit, then, you know, it's harder to see that you address that part. However, if you looked at the model paper for practice exam 2, there was not a section titled diverse learners, but the strategies that she used were workshop with small group reading instruction. And so the strategies mentioned were really targeted to differentiating for diverse learners. So it was in there, but it was more embedded and it wasn't explicit in a section. So you can do it either way, but whatever way you do address it, make sure it's very clear. A way to address diverse learners in comprehension would look like this, okay? Or, you know, for my balanced literacy block, I'm going to use, you know, whatever, and here's how I will plan for diverse learners in this situation. Level text. I know she talked about using level text in the small group, so that would be how she would meet needs. So you can kind of see how the embedded part looks in the sample paper, which is really well done, even though I know there's a lot of typos, but that's okay because that's expected with the timed exam. And I wanted you to see that it's okay to have a lot of typos as long as you have the content in there. And that's really what they care about, is the content, the research, and the integration of content from all of the different courses you guys have taken up to this point. You know, this isn't just an essay from 508, it's 508, it's 516, it's 560, it's assessment, it's sociocultural, it's everything, you know. Technology would be good in your take home, all these things. If you want to pull out 514 linguistic theories, they're going to love that too. So, good question. All right, anybody else? Okay, well, if you come up with anything, definitely email me. Then Saturday morning, 8 a.m., check for the prompt for the take home. It's a good one. I think it's my favorite. Both of the prompts this time, I think, are my favorite so far that I've written. So Dr. Hassis even agreed. So she didn't have any adjustments for me, which I was happy to see. So prompts are ready to go. They're ready for you. I think you guys will do really well. Again, cell phone number on your note card. Call me if all hell breaks loose. I will get you through it. We will get this exam done on the 21st, with or without ProctorU. All right, you guys, have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.